Welcome back to part 2 of is that a grenade or is that a Subaru engine? It's both. But either way, we're going to see if this stock engine can be saved after I picked this car up with a spun rod bearing, got it rebuilt at a machine shop for an extremely fair price, and then of course along the way I ended up breaking my wrist on an unfortunate longboard accident, but I do still have to put it back together. I'm just kind of one-handed, so could be worse, could be better, but we're gonna carry along with good energy and positive vibes. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. My name is Mechanic Cole, and you guys can watch me struggle and rebuild this EJ255 that I picked up for a very good deal. Check out the video from before. And I will share a total cost breakdown with you guys at the end of everything. I am trying to keep the whole car under $6,000 to return it back to nice stock driving condition. So if we can keep it under $6,000, I'm happy. I might eventually end up selling it. I might end up keeping it. We're gonna see where this project goes. I really like the car, but we know how Subarus are. So I will say, however, after working on Audis and I'll just say especially Audis for the last few years, going back to a simple Subaru engine like this feels like Legos. This is extremely easy. I actually had a lot of joy building this engine. This was a ton of fun, and just not as much headache as the Audis have been. So, good change of course, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. What's up guys, welcome to the channel. We finally got the engine back for the rebuild for the Legacy GT that I'm building right here that I got for cheap. Check out the last video up here if you are just now following along. Picked this up with a spun rod bearing and got it fully rebuilt, heads redone, everything reworked on it. Everything's looking like a masterpiece over here. Machine shop had to replace the crank. So we did get a new crank in here, all the bits and goodies, everything you can think of for that rebuild done. We had a small delay because I was waiting on some parts. So due to the new crank, I had to grab a Woodruff key. That little guy right there was only the dealership. My wrist is doing a little bit better here. It was broken a few weeks ago. All the swelling's gone down, so I'm finally able to start doing a little bit more stuff here. I wanted to talk real quick about something that I learned myself while doing this engine build that I see some people talk about, but not common knowledge here. First thing, if you have a spun rod bearing, you cannot just replace your rod bearing and start your car back up and go down there. Don't do that. If someone tells you that, they have no understanding of what they're talking about. Second off, the rod bearing will put metal through your whole entire engine. Every oil component must be replaced. And I thought that was a little excessive, but it really makes sense. One of the things that you don't really think about, if you have the newer Legacy GT models or you have any of them that have the oil cooler on them like this oil cooler has to be replaced. People can clean it, yes, but there is little galleys in here that so much metal could get stuck on and so many little ridges inside of here. So basically if you started this back up and oil starts flooding to your engine and you get all that fine metal particulates in there, you're gonna ruin your turbo, you're gonna ruin new bearing seals, you're gonna ruin all kinds of stuff in your engine. So look around online. These are expensive at the Subaru dealership, but I found this for $110, OEM Subaru. Don't get aftermarket. I don't even know if they make aftermarket oil coolers for this, but you gotta replace that. Next thing you gotta replace, oil pump. A lot of people say, ooh, don't drop them though. That would have been bad. A lot of people say that you can clean these oil pumps out and remove the bolts and spray them out. I'm not taking any chances. The machine shop recommended to replace it. I'm going to replace it. I had one that came with the engine rebuild, but it was not a Subaru from Japan one. And to be honest, I'm too sketched out by it. They gave me this one. It seems like the backing plate here is plastic. This is metal, or at least a different color, I don't know. But either way, I don't like dealing with stuff that's not super hard. So this is such an important component. If I was to put this on and somehow lose oil pressure later on, there goes all my work gone. So at least spending that extra money gives me the peace of mind that I know all that stuff's clean. Third, when you have your heads redone, you have to have these redone when you spin a rod bearing. Metal's gonna get sucked up into here. They need to remove all these little screws and ports. You need to go to a Subaru shop that knows what they're doing. They need to flush all the metal out of here as much as they can and then do the rebuild job and then do the valves and all that stuff. That's a must. You don't want any metal in here. They need to hot tank everything and clean it. If you're not familiar with Subaru engines, do not take your engine there. I don't recommend it. But I did just want to touch on that oil thing because I'd hate for you guys to rebuild your engine and then go back through everything else. There's a few more things that I learned here, and that's the ABCS solenoids right here. You need to take these out. And you need to take this gate out and you need to inspect everything in here. There can be a bunch of metal particulates in there. Shine a light, you'll see a bunch of metal in there. It's insane. Another one that I found super interesting that I just learned is this. See all the oil going through it? So you'll actually get, there's a lot of oil that passes through these gears right here. And you'll get a bunch of metal contaminants in here. So an easily missed one too, if you don't read or do your research, you need to spray this out with a bunch of brake cleaner if you don't want to replace these. People say to replace them. This is like 600 bucks each. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna clean it really well with brake cleaner and make sure it's all out. This is one piece that I think that I can do, and a lot of other people have done it and it's been fine. As long as you get the main components down, it's all good. Here's the AVCS solenoid I was talking about. Make sure that the inside of this is all clean, and you can replace them. They're not that much money, so it's a replaceable part. I'll leave everything linked below in the description. It'll have the timing belt kit. I'll try to put all the parts that I found for this whole engine rebuild in the link below, so if it's helpful for you guys. I know I got an Audi channel, but eventually someone's gonna find this as the EJ255 rebuild and go from there. Another thing you wanna get finished is your flywheel. If you're not gonna replace it, make sure the machine shop can refinish it. You see we got that whole thing refinished right here, and we also got, we gotta get a new bearing put in here, but that ain't no thing. Brand new clutch here, pressure plate underneath it, ready to go. So if there's a part I missed, let me know. I've pretty much replaced it all. There is one more that you guys gotta check, and it is your turbo. You can get oil sucked up into your, you can get metal into your turbo, and that can ruin your turbo. So hopefully I don't have any issues there. If it does, we'll be rebuilding a turbo soon. Next, we're just about to piece this engine together. And so you guys can watch me continue to build this engine with pretty much one hand, because this hand is pretty much useless. So let's jump right back into that. Easy to turn because I don't have spark plugs in it. Just gonna go one more time, make sure there's no binding. All the valves are, there's no load on any of the valves right now, so. So we got everything lined up here. Timing right on point. You want to be able to see your mark and everything like that right through that slot. You want this tool on this side if you guys are doing this, because this side is kind of under load, this side is not. I have these handy little clips once I got down here to keep it in place, because it's pretty tight already, as you can tell. And then as by the manual, they suggest to do this pulley last. We got all the time marks up here lined up. Again, should be able to see them right to the slot. And again down here. So now we got this punk ass problem. This manifold bolt broke, and of course it won't come out, so now it's got to get the old cutting wheel. Alright, we got the engine all put together. Next on my list is to fill it with some oil. I gotta wait on a purge valve, a breather hose, a turbo manifold bolt, and I think that's it, and then we're ready to go in there. So we're gonna throw some oil in here, and we are gonna add some zinc. Important to add to freshly rebuilt motors. And also guys, I'm just using regular 530. You don't want to use synthetic oils for your rebuilds because it's too slick you want just a regular 530, run it for about 800 to 1,000 miles, maybe even 500 miles, and then drain it after that, and then put some fresh stuff in it. After like the first 2, you can change to synthetic, but I highly recommend just sticking with the regular 530 if you freshly rebuilt your engine and you need those piston rings to seat against the wall properly. Just gonna let that drain out.
Ice in my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great.